Now the summer comes and the winter goes and the rain falls and the green grass grow and everything of its time and this happens to be freestyle. Catch the profile.
It's another Friday here on Feferity Radio, the 15th day in March 2024. And today is a special one because here with me, I have a very special guest, an elder from my country, Sierra Leone, an author of the book Dead End Poverty. And that's Roland Charley. He's with me here today. And we're going to be looking at, talking about his book so that you can maybe get a copy, get a hold of a copy and read into his insight about his country, Sierra Leone. And we're going to be looking at not just in Sierra Leone, but Africa as well. And poverty is such a big, big word that we need to break it down. So we're going to be looking at Elder Roland, how he got up onto writing the book, but a bit about himself as well, because he was born in a place I've never been in Sierra Leone. That's the Bonth Island. And I'm looking forward to go there next time I'm in Sierra Leone. But also how he grew up as a child in Sierra Leone and what was his perspective and how it came about writing this heavy titled Dead End Poverty. So stay tuned. We're live also on YouTube. So on Feferity Radio London, Feferity London, you can type it out. We're there, we're live, so you can watch us, and make sure you share as well the link if you're listening on radio. Share the link if you want to watch us live in the studio as well. You can pop into Feferity Radio London on YouTube and make sure you share as well. Thank you very much. And I was asking Sir Roland, before I introduce Sir Roland, about his favorite artists. He says, I was saying his favorite genre. He says reggae, of course. I was really smiling. So I says, okay, who is the artist? He says, Bob Marley. Here we are. So I'm going to start with Bob Marley. And today here, we're going to be jamming. So take a listen to Bob Marley and the Wailers. And hold on a minute. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Where are we? Where are we? Let's do this. Right. I could hear myself doubling. But let me play you Bob Marley and the Wailers, and then I will bring you my special guest for this evening, Sir Roland Charley. Let me see which one we've got here. This is what I want. So let's go for jamming Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Jamming, and I situation here where we're jamming. What you are, we're jamming. What you are. I wanna jam it with you. We're jamming, 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 jamming. Jam them up, you're jamming too. Jam out some magic try. The truth again is high to keep you satisfied. The love I now exist is the love I can't resist. So stand by my side. We're jamming, 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 jamming. I wanna jam it with you. We're jamming, 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 we're jamming. Hope you like jamming too. Jamming, we're jamming, jamming, we're jamming, we're jamming, jamming. I wanna jam with you now. We're jamming, jamming, we're jamming, jamming. Hope you like jamming too. And I hope you like jamming. I hope you like jamming. 'Cause I wanna jam it with you. I wanna jam it with you. Jamming, jamming. I hope you. I wanna jam it with you. I hope you like jamming.
Bob Marley and the Wailers. Always right, isn't it, for this Friday evening here on Feferity Radio. I hope you enjoy that, Mr. Roland Charley.
Yes, I did.
I saw you shaking your head over there.
I actually did.
So, welcome to Feferity Radio.
Well, thank you for having me.
And how is your Friday been, sir?
Oh, swell. Great. I'm okay. My family is okay. Everyone is okay. I thank Almighty God. And I'm here with you having this conversation.
About your book,
Yes, about my book, of course. Yeah.
Dead End Poverty.
Yes, Dead End Poverty.
So, before we proceed into the book, just tell us about who is Roland Charley.
Well, Roland Charley is son born to Matthew Charley and Fatu Charley in Bonth decades ago, and went to school in a little bit in Bonth, and then transferred on to Kanama where my parents went to live, and I continued my school from there. My mother especially never went to school, and my father did go to school one way or the other, because he always used to say that, I mean, he could read and write, and he had the worst handwriting I could ever think of. Yeah, but he was very strict, and one thing I liked about him, he never actually let us down, because he always paid our school fees, made sure there was always money, even though we were not a rich family, or not even a well-to-do family, because we had a hard life. In fact, my father was not living with us. He was living in Kono, working there, and we were living in Kenema with our mom. They both passed away now, but we were living with them. So I got my primary education at the UMC School, Kenema, proceeded to Christ the King College, afterward proceeded to Bonumbu Teachers College, and later left. Directly, I went down to Greece, Athens, and studied in Athens.
How old were you when you left?
I was about, say, 27 or so. Yeah.
Okay. So, Roland, at that time, growing up, I mean, when you mentioned about your father was not at home at that time because of work, that environment, was it familiar to all other people around, or was it just exclusive to the Charley family?
It was familiar to most people.
Right.
Actually, I mean, it was a situation then. Fathers needed to go to work. If they didn't want to take their wives, they went alone and they worked, especially in the diamond mines. If you are employed by the Sierra Leone Selection Trust, that is the SLST, now known as NDMC. I don't know if they've changed the name again, because it's been quite a while since I left that area. So my father was working for that company. Before, he was a freelancer, And when I started growing up, we were going to holidays. We were going on holidays to Simbakoro and Kwaidu, and I actually saw him with some vehicles like a 404 Peugeot, Mil Kilo. I wonder how many people can remember that type of vehicle, and a Land Rover that he was using for mining. So money came and went, but then it came to a time that actually no money came in any longer, and so he had to take a job. And so with my mother, she was living with us in Kenema, and although she didn't go to school, she actually was very industrious because she became a trader. She was all the time trading in everything possible, whether it was rice, palm oil, bushmeat, bananas, oranges, whatever that was there. And we were there to help her actually go to sell these things when we came out from school and all the rest. So it was very difficult growing up, really. And we only had one meal per day, and even that one, sometimes we were not sure whether it was going to be forthcoming. We had to wait till the evening. When I come out from school, go do some little marketing for my mom, and then pass through to her place, get some food materials, condiments, and whatever, then go and cook myself.
You cook yourself?
Oh, yes, I was cooking for the family, for the entire family. My younger brother is in Germany. My elder brother, of course, he passed away late, Chris Charley, who was Assistant Inspector General of Police a few years back, retired. He passed away now. So I was cooking for the entire family, actually. And
how did you learn to cook?
My culinary prowess. My mom just decided to give me to let me do the cooking. And that was all, because I used to watch her doing it, and I used to watch some other people doing it.
Was also that familiar though? Because
oh yes. This all these things I'm telling about you was not only associated with the Charlie family, because I had other people around me whom I can still remember. There was this Creole lady, Mami Koni, she's dead now, Mami Hill and all that. They are all living the same lives like us. No one was really like that very well off. There were the Lebbys, Christian Leby, Thomas Leby, and all of these people. With their moms and dads did the same thing like mine was doing. It was a hard time during the 70s, man.
I remember because my mother used to, she worked for the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
And, they post them different, places in the countryside. So, because I was about 5 years old, early 70s, when, posted out to Kono. And then from Kono, late 70s to Kabbalah.
Yeah, that was something that was really going on everywhere in government entities. If you are working for for MOW, for the ministry, you were a teacher, you were this, you were sent off to certain places.
Yeah.
You were never in one place.
That's right. So I think that generation of the, say, late 60s, 70s that grew up, like boys. One, the idea of that one family, was not a big deal at all, because most of those, people in this generation, you will say, grew up with aunties, grannies, or their mothers, but they were going back and forth.
Family members, on and forth, But our mothers were never really considered like they do here, single women, because they were not single. They were married, only that their men were absent, working in some areas. Sometimes, because of the transfer, the frequent transfer that was happening with workers, they decide to leave their wives and children in one place so that they don't upset their schooling and all the rest of things.
That's right, yeah.
You see? And almost like every single week, we used to see either if the police coming by in trucks, we used to see household goods packed in big trucks and everything. That happened very, very frequently. And in fact, there was also the train. Some people actually travel by the train and put their stuff in them and transfer to Shegbema or to Pendembu or to Freestyle. They take you from Kenema all the way down to Songo, or from Songo to go to Pepel and all those areas, Sometimes they transfer you as far as Denmark in Bonth.
Yes.
And you will have to go. You will not have to deny that. You see, that was the sort of era we were living in. And in those eras, there was complete discipline. Going to school, if you were late, you were punished. if you see your teacher, even after school somewhere, you will, nobody will tell you. You will just find some way to hide immediately, because the following morning your teacher was going to ask you, what were you doing there at that time when I saw you? And if you have no good explanation for that, another punishment. But it was good. It shaped us into what we are today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it is quite interesting when you pointed that era where discipline was paramount.
Yeah.
And it's good also to look at reasons for those discipline at that time.
Yes.
I think there was less interference within the family structure. What do I mean by that?
I know.
We don't have
Legislations and other things.
We don't have the internet at that time. You know, most homes don't have even television.
No, not even lights.
Exactly. So, and the area you could not really engage or disengage with the community.
Yes.
There's always engagement with the community. So everybody knows where you are.
Living. Everybody was like living together.
Yeah.
Everybody knew everybody around in that particular area. And everybody knew your mom or dad. And so it was very hard for you to go do something wrong, because someone was always going to come tell your dad or your mom. I remember one day when we were young, and we always used to go sailing. And then there was a river close by where we were living in Kwetoma. They call that river Lambaye. It's still existing today, but they have blocked part of it now, and it causes a lot of flooding these days. So I went and sat there with my friend Femi. Femi is dead now, of course. Brahma is also dead. There are a lot of them anyway. We were there, and that was when I started smoking marijuana. We used to call it jamba or tafi. And we were sitting down there smoking, enjoying ourselves as little boys, actually. Not very little, maybe around 13, 14 or so.
Okay.
And this man came in who knew all my parents. He's dead also now. He was called Pabonia. And instead of actually just reprimanding me, but you know how things work there.
Yeah.
He straight away went to my mom and told him, oh, guess what? Who I saw over there at that Lambama, sitting with all those rare boys.
Yeah.
Smoking taffy.
Yeah.
They said, who? Then Pabonia said, your son. They used to call me Kinney. That's my house name.
Right.
Kinney. So I came now. I've sold all the bananas and everything. The tray was under my arm. Came back home. By the time I came, I met a very big bunch of, those whips they used to root
Yes,
out.
that's right.
Yeah,
The cane.
That has those, not just the cane. It's an actual whip, my brother. That one has so many branches.
Right.
They used to root it up from the
Yes.
ground.
Yes.
I met a big bunch over there. And my mom asked me, where have you been? I said, Mom, I've not been to any place. He said, oh, then who did Pabonia see at the Lambert River? I'm not only see, but smoking taffy. You know how it was? Oh, God. How that was dangerous. I mean, I'm very fearful to them. I got the beating of my life. And
Wow.
my mom was one who never felt sorry for us, because we were all boys, save one one girl, who was even the eldest of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got some real good hiding, which I actually cannot describe.
Hey.
Okay. But I had my revenge, though. So this same Pabonia who went and reported me, he used to go praying very early in the morning. And in our yard, we had a very big mango stick. So I can remember we used to have this thing we call rubber fac, catapult.
Yes.
So I climbed the mango stick early in the morning.
Bad man.
Yeah, and when he was coming, I gave him here with the, and I was really very.
So you actually hit him?
Oh yes, I actually hit him deliberately.
With
he died with that.
With a
thing.
sling.
Yeah, he died with the how do you call it? The swelling on
Yes.
his head. Yeah.
Wow.
But it was only when I have grown up now that I went to him and begged for forgiveness, and then he was now shouting in Mende, "Oh, can he be honey?" Because I went and told him that it was me who did that to him that time.
All right, so he didn't know.
Yeah, anyway. But it was a swell time. We used to do everything. Play touch, hide and seek, what and what. Ate together. Did everything together anyway. With all the neighbors that were around. Their children did not discriminate from ours. We were all the same. Everything was swell. It was only difficult to make the daily living.
Mm.
You know.
So it is interesting at that time, there was lack of awareness to the different use of vegetation, even though family was like farmers, but how much do they know about the benefit of crops at that time rather than just, oh, this is the crop that we always eat?
Oh, they actually knew a lot. You'll be surprised to see what those people knew, especially if you had family members who are farmers. When they were farming, they didn't just grow rice. It was like subsistence farming that contained everything. They grew cucumber in the farm. They grew granite in the farm, cassava leaves in the farm. So many other stuff they would grow in the farm. And so there was always like food ready, especially in the dry season, when a lot of these things were harvested. So you get these things from the farm. And even when the farm has moved, because they used to do this fallow system, they will farm here today, then they move to the other end. Then even when that farm has moved, then they will plant cassava and some other stuff in that farm, and they'll be revisiting that farm for pepper, for garden eggs, and all the sort of things you will need. So they knew about the crops actually, and those who were cultivating cocoa, coffee, palm kernels, and all these sort of things, they were actually having it. Look, don't get me wrong when I talk about poverty. Food was abundant then, because there was the train. When the train left Pendembo to go down to Freetown, all it carried was food, even though it was a passenger train. So there was all food, from bushmeat to palm oil to rice to palm kernel to whatever you could think of. That whatever was grown was being transported to Freetown for sale, and it was there. It was only after the train was removed that we actually started. That was still in the 70s, late 70s or so, that we started actually experiencing hardship.
So how old were you at that time? Were you, because you talked about the age 13 when you started smoking around that time.
Oh,
were
yes,
you?
I was smoking. I mean,
Was he, before that, when the train, that was before that,
the
wasn't
train
it?
was still there when I was like 13, because I sat in the train. Yeah,
Right.
I went on holidays to my uncle. Incidentally, my mom was a Timini woman. She was born in Port Loko. And
Right.
my dad who is Shabro. So even all my uncles who lived in Moyamba, all those areas, they all had Timini name, and they speak Timini very fluently. So I'm of both worlds.
Okay.
So she just used to put us in the train in Kenema, me and my elder brother.
Right.
And then they pick us up at Moyamba. But I can remember that very, 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 very well. So which means I was sensible enough to that. But the train was there, as well as vehicles. But things were not as tough as when the train actually was done away with.
Right. So when the idea of becoming a writer, did you thought about that when you was in school?
That's very interesting, and thank you for asking that question. From day one when I was in school, I've always loved reading. So I was a voracious reader. So was my elder brother. Even all the money we used to have, we'll put it together to go and buy James and the Chase books, Perry Mason, this and that. And when even I'm selling, every single day I went to the library, because I would go and take these Nodi books, what and what, read them. And that was how I started to know about the world actually through books. I read a lot in books, and it educated me a lot, showed me so many stuff. And that was when I started to think of, someday I'm going to write a book myself. And I started trying. I used to write mini poems, this and that, even when I was in primary school. And some of those poems, I think might still be available in my father's house somewhere, because I used to write then. And even when I was in college, I was still writing, even though I never published anything. I just used to make like pamphlet writing.
What sort of thing were you writing about?
Fiction.
Okay.
It was mostly fiction, and just as this one, you see.
Do you used to tell stories?
Yeah, just telling stories. And then in the evenings also we listen to to the elders, telling us stories, especially in the dry season when there was enough food. Storytellers came by, passing around, and they would tell stories that you've never actually heard about, and they were very interesting.
I remember in school, in primary school in the 70s,
Yeah.
there's a time we tell stories.
Oh, yeah, in the class.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I used to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they would probably like, tomorrow is storytelling day, and then we'll say, you, Roland, freestyle.
But you know what I used to do during those periods when they asked me to tell a story? I just come out there. I'm not going to repeat what I have heard from other people. I will just think of something which will all be, I would not call them lies. I would just call them fiction. And then restructure everything and make my own story and take to the classroom. And most times they enjoyed them, even though they knew that I am just making it up. Yeah, you see. I also loved singing. I used to sing a lot, whether it's in the bath or in the choir or in church or whatever. I used to like singing a lot. Yeah.
Oh, you used to be in the choir?
Oh yes, at the UMC church in Kenema. The church is still there in Sierra Street.
Right.
I went to primary school. At that time when the UMC school, it was being, the headmaster then was JBM Vincent. He's dead now, but I'm still in touch with his kids because his kids were like my brothers, and he also came from the same area where I came from, Bonth. You see. So I mean, there's a lot of memories.
When I was in Kabbalah, my mother used to attend this small, very small, like Methodist church.
Okay.
But one thing I used to enjoy is when they sang in like their traditional languages.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is it the same for you?
Well, yes, definitely.
You
I mean,
used to sing
there came a time when we
in
have to
Shabro or
sing.
Mende?
Well, actually, in Mende, because as I told you, I left Shabro Island very small when my parents took us off, and then we came to Kenema.
Right.
Kenema now, I just became like a Mende boy. Everything we did was in Mende. What my mom speaks Mende very, very. In fact, she spoke Mende before she moved to Kenema, because in Moyamba they spoke both Mende and Timini.
Yeah.
So she spoke that one before she even came there. But us in Kenema now, we are just speaking Mende. Incidentally, my elder sister, she's still alive and still in Sierra Leone now, and she speaks Timini very fluently. I do understand Timini, but it's quite a bit of work for me to speak it fluently. I know a few phrases that I speak, but I don't think I'll be sitting somewhere and someone is speaking about me in Timni, then I won't collect anything. No, I will be able to understand a few words, and I'll point it out to you and say, "Oh, stop making that rubbish," because I understand what you are saying.
Okay.
I have a lot of Timini friends. Even my best friend, who we are together in Greece, he's now living here, Alpha Kamara. Yeah. There's Abu Kamara as well. There's another guy who calls Saddam, Osman Kamara, who sends money around. All these guys are my friends. A lot of them are Timinis or Sanda Timinis. But all my uncles, they were Timinis. Those who are dead now, they were Timinis. Those who are still alive are Timinis. I lost my uncle, who was also a policeman, a very strict one, just about 2 or 3 years ago. His name was Amadou S. Kano. My mom's surname before she got married was Kano.
Right.
Fatu Kano. And right now, as I speak, the other daughters, Kadiatu Kano, she's living in Waterloo. Bobo Kano or Bobo Abdul Kano is living there.
Big up to them.
Yeah, James Kano is a military officer, police, how do you call them? Military police officer. So we are all in touch. These are all my family members. I've got pictures of them, my uncle, my dad, my mom, and everybody. They are all on my phones. And I make sure that we converse every now and then. And a lot of them share the same experience that I encountered.
At that time when your love for reading and writing, did your parents or people around your friends knew that you have an inkling or to become a writer?
Well, they always saw me reading, they always saw me writing, so they were even. But I used to say I wanted to become an engineer.
Right.
But that never actually happened. But even when I used to go selling, if I'm going to be static, like in a petrol station in Texaco, I would that is why I told you I always went to the library to collect the book. I will read it that day, finish. The following day, when I go to sell it again, go to the library, leave the old one and take another one. I even used to read stories about the Greek heroes, this and that. That's where I knew about Jason. I knew about the Centaur. I knew about ancient Greece and all those sort of stuff, man. Because books are really very enlightening. It doesn't matter whether it's a fiction or if it's a content matter book or
Absolutely.
a subject matter book. But when you read extensively, it's going to give you a very wide scope
Of vocabularies as well.
yeah, vocabularies as well. I mean, that's sure. But it's going to give you a very wide scope of thinking, you know? And you'll be wondering, where was I? Why wasn't I doing this before? And that is why I encourage my children to read. In fact, I don't need to encourage them because it's like they took the trade from me. If you visit my house now, there's a whole wardrobe full of books. The books that my daughter have made us to buy for her, if you look into it and check all the prices, it's over 3,000 quid.
Wow.
And she reads it all. It's not like she's just making it and pushing it. And there's the youngest one called Fatima. Yeah.
Fantastic.
This is a girl, I think she has the brains of her mom and myself because she's, I don't know how to describe her.
Brilliant.
Yeah, she's a brilliant girl. So it's her sister and her brother, you know, all of them are brilliant.
And I'm sure you're very proud.
Oh, yes, I'm very proud of that. Yeah, I am. If I tell you that I have never helped my children, even on their homeworks or whatever, I just review it for them. And then I tell them it's okay. They never do bother us, and they are doing very well. They get
Well,
very good
are you the
reviews.
parents who used to write homework for your children?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I don't write homework for my children.
Oh, right. I thought you.
I have never helped them do their homework.
Okay.
They do it themselves.
Right.
Definitely. They do it themselves. You know?
So let's move a little bit forward into just trying to get an idea of like your friends and family, because sometimes, you know, you grow up, people who are singers, they will say, you know, people always say, oh, you're going to be a singer because they love singing and you love reading and writing. And you have your love is to become an engineer, not a teacher.
Yeah.
So, and here,
incidentally, I actually did become a teacher.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Which school was this?
Well, I was teaching at St. Joseph Secondary School in Blama when I left college.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that was the time we used to work and the then presidential.
Blama is in the eastern part, yeah?
Just close to Kenema.
Right, okay.
And that's the time we used to work at Sheka. Stephen was not paying salaries for maybe 3-4 months. So
What salary was not being paid at that time for 3 months?
Yeah, sometimes 4 months or even more.
What year was it?
That was now in the 80s.
The 80s?
Yeah. Ask people who were there, they will tell you. We will go and teach, we will not get paid for about 3 months.
So how then the teachers, how you guys were surviving at that time?
I mean, nobody wanted to know how we were surviving. And this is what I've always been talking about. And that was one of the reasons I wrote like that, Dead End Poverty. Because how we survived was also engaged in their form of corruption. Even though we were not taking it from the nation, we were also taking it from the parents and the children. Because we'll get the children to go and cut wood for us. We'll get them to help us in the farm. We'll get them to buy pamphlets. We'll get them to say, okay, you have to bring this amount of money to school before this can happen and this can happen. That was how we survived because money was not being paid out of salaries. If it were paid out, we didn't used to get it. But I was working for a sort of Catholic school.
Right.
You see, so therefore, we know we should have been paid. But because it's a government-assisted school, government needs to provide that money before we got paid. And we are not being paid. And this was one of the reasons why I left Sierra Leone. So after not being paid for a while, there was my other friend. He's back in Sierra Leone by now. He became a Canadian citizen. We traveled together the same day.
Right.
Yeah. And then we came to, that time there was now war in Liberia.
Right.
Passed through Liberia, came down to Guinea, to Koya in Guinea, came to Labe, stayed in Labe for weeks before we started traveling all the way down to Kundara, from Kundara, crossed the Futajalan mountain all the way all the way down to Guinea-Bissau,
Yeah.
Senegal, and then ended up in the Gambia. My
Wow.
friend didn't like it in the Gambia. So he decided to go to Senegal because he could speak a little bit of French.
Yeah.
I knew nothing on French. So I stayed in Gambia, and incidentally, the people who used to help or teach their children back in Kenema, we used to call them Maraka, but they call them in Gambia and Senegal Sarakules. So I met some of these people there, and they were very kind to me. They even lodged me up, gave me food, everything. And they gave me work. They had hotels. They had all this money they found from diamonds in Sierra Leone. So I was now within, they say, between a year or two, I was like entrenched in the Gambia. I had money. I was getting work everywhere. I was jack of all trade. Anything.
Were you teaching?
No, I didn't teach.
Okay.
I tried getting a teaching job, but I didn't teach in the Gambia. But my other distant sister, she's in America now. She was teaching at St. Augustine in the Gambia.
Right.
And so she was even trying for me to go teach there. But that didn't happen because I found a way of living,
Right.
which was really very convenient for me, and I was making money. But before I even go up to that, when we were there in Sierra Leone, there was this our friend. He was actually a disabled guy. It's called Scotland, and I thank him a lot for what I am today, because he used to tell me, say, look, when you come from school, if you're not doing anything, don't just sit there. He rented from our house. He was in the veranda. Don't just sit there. You know, I make this electronic stuff, that is radios and all that stuff. He said, come and be watching to see how it could be done. And me and that my friend Suleiman,
Right.
we started watching him doing it. And before they say 6 to 8 months, my friend, we've picked it up and we knew how to do it.
That's really fantastic. Let's go back to Sierra Leone because the book Dead End Poverty is a very heavy title,
Yeah, I'm with you.
and what you've just mentioned there,
Yeah.
because it's good to have an idea that shaped this title.
Yeah.
So, working as a teacher
Yeah.
in the 80s, and you're saying like you can go for 4 months without getting paid.
Yes, sure.
And as a result of that, obviously, you're going to find a way, teachers going to find a way to kind of balance that. So,
has to eat.
yeah, so basically, at that time, you were not a parent at that time, but
No, not a parent.
other
Not even
parents,
married.
yeah. So, as a result of that, the parents have to suffer. It's like, that was this something that
Well,
was just
we
in
didn't
your...
take it as we were making them suffer.
No, it wasn't like that. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of looking at this from this perspective now,
Okay.
where these parents and the children has to work for the teachers at that time,
Yeah.
do heavy manual work
Yes.
for the teachers,
Yes.
like getting wood, you know what I mean, and for the forest and water, and maybe sometimes wash your clothes
make them
and
make
cook
handwork.
as well.
We make them make handwork and then we sell them.
Right.
You know, things like that.
Okay, and all of this as well, I mean, which is good, but it's like, the teachers were benefiting from the
Yes.
children's creativity that the children should have been taking credit for.
And which we are not supposed to have done. But
Was
we did
this
anyway.
was this just in Kenema, or was this like, countrywide?
This was countrywide.
Right. So,
Ask teachers who were teaching those times.
Uh-huh.
I guess there are several around here. They'll be able to tell you.
that this was the same pattern.
Same pattern, brother.
Right.
Except if someone wants to be dishonest. But if not, same.
Come closer, please. Yeah.
Same pattern, brother. Same pattern. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, teachers had to find other ways of living.
So, what
It's
was
not-
these teachers? Were they? I mean, if you're not getting paid,
Yeah.
if the teachers are working,
Yeah.
they're teaching the children and not getting paid for 1-2 months.
Yeah.
Do you think that the level of teaching drops?
Well, the level of teaching may have dropped, but not very much, really.
Because
there
what
was always this
motivates the
hope,
teachers to actually teach?
Because you knew that at the end of the day, even if it takes 4 months or 5 months, you're going to be paid one day, and you'll be paid back payments
Mm-hmm.
for those months you did not receive the money.
Yeah.
But when you need the money most, it's not there.
But I'm just looking back. I mean, people, going to be watching this again or listening to it now,
Yeah.
will be wondering to themselves, it's like, how will then you be much motivated to, especially if it's 1 month gone, 2 months gone, how can you be motivated to be teaching the children?
It's the hope of getting your pay after all this time that motivates you. Because if you stop then, you're not going to have anything in it.
And
So
how-
you continue going?
Right. And how was the result for those children at that time? Where was he assisted by the teachers? Because, was he a lot of spying at that time?
Well, they could have spied, but not a lot of spying at that time, really. And teachers never used to go answer questions for kids, as it has been done recently, even at tertiary levels in Sierra Leone. They actually sat to examinations and they passed. The only thing was that as a teacher, maybe you were a class teacher to just one class, but allocated with probably, if it's in a primary school or even the secondary school, you have anything between 70 to 100 students.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that time. Say teachers that are not getting paid, like you said, okay, are using these children to do all this menial work.
Yeah.
And the children, how can they be looking forward to go to school when they know that they're going to be working for the teacher?
They are happy to do it.
No, they are happy because
let me
probably,
tell
do
you-
they feel that they have choice?
No, well, let me tell you this.
Because they were meant to go to school.
Well, yes, they are meant to go
And they
to
were
school.
doing this work during school time, right?
No, they're not doing the work during school time.
Right, okay.
Even if they are doing the work during school time, it becomes an excursion.
Right,
An
extracurriculum.
An excursion into the
Or
bush.
curricular.
For example,
Mm-hmm.
to go study about trees, to go show them which is this. And once you are in there, by the time you are coming, they have gathered some wood and they will bring it.
Right. Was this part of the curricula at that
yes,
time?
it was part of
Or
the
was
curri-
this just
No,
sort
it
of
was part
like
of the curriculum.
made up so that, the children can do this work for the
studies.
teachers?
Nature study was part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
So you cannot just study nature in the classroom.
No.
Because we did not have these preservative methods of taking butterflies or this.
No,
or that.
I'm just, I mean, that
Yeah,
is
that's
really
what I'm-
good. The
that's what I'm
motivation,
saying.
I mean, the motive is good, but I'm just thinking about the teachers are not getting paid and they're going to the forest where they know that they're going to get wood and maybe a lot more to sell so that they can make money. And these children, I'm thinking, what are they really teaching at that time rather than looking at what they could benefit from being in the forest? I'm just thinking,
You actually do teach.
right.
Even when we are not getting paid, we actually did teach. Because once you're with a teacher,
Yeah.
once a teacher, you are always a teacher. You want to impart knowledge, regardless of what the circumstances are. Those are the very, very first. It's like a doctor. You actually want to make sure that people are okay when they come to you. If
You know,
they are ill.
you know, because in the 80s,
Yeah,
I was at secondary school.
yeah.
And at that time, the level of education, it was a build-up thing anyway.
Well, yeah, it was really.
It was a
okay.
build-up.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like went down to 20% of, actual learning. I'm talking about actual learning, that if you really want to learn.
Yeah.
But there are means in which you can get a good result by not even going to classroom. This was
In the
about
80s.
the 80s, yeah.
Late
So
80s or early 80s.
late 80s.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Incidentally, I actually left Sierra Leone in 1984.
So I'm just looking back now.
Yeah.
This must have been a chronic sort
Oh,
of
yes,
like
yes.
impoverished, mentality, right?
Yes, my brother.
Mm.
A lot of people in Sierra Leone were impoverished. The farmers only did subsistence farming, what they could eat for their family, and then the little that is left, they sell up, buy one wrapper or head tie for their wives, and things is over. Come rainy season, they are going to go to those traders and get some money, promising them that when I harvest my oil or my granite or my this or this, then I will pay you part of it
Right.
in crops.
Right.
And this person is going to underpay you in that crop. If you want your children to not to starve, then you've got to do that. That was what most people were doing.
Right.
For example, if I plant a bushel of rice in my farm,
Yeah.
rainy season, now I don't have anything to feed my children, I will go to the trader in my town and say, okay, I want to take 20 pounds from you. And when I harvest my rice, I'll give you a whole bag of it or 2 or 3 bushels of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the depending on how much he wants to buy a bushel, he determines it, and then you take that money from him. The moment you start harvesting, that trader is there, and that 3 bushel is going to be subtracted from whatever they harvested. So it was always not enough for you to have enough in the
And the cycle continues.
The cycle continued.
So at that time, where
And that was
teachers,
one reason why
yeah,
people used to take their children
mm-hmm.
from the villages and other places to give them to their aunties, to their uncles, to their what who are living in big town, so that they can reduce the burden of feeding them.
Right.
Yeah.
So this was too much for you to bear because you was a young man now and you were very conscious
Yeah.
of the situation, especially you really wanted to teach, but you see that what you're doing is not really impacting on the children positively.
No.
And you're trying to make a move, and you travel all this way from Sierra Leone to Liberia to Guinea, to Senegal.
Just cutting it short, really, sir. And I wouldn't want to go into all the
Right.
trauma and whatever happened,
Right. So when you came to Gambia, because at that time you wasn't thinking of writing this book, right?
In the Gambia?
You wasn't thinking of putting this thing together.
No, in the Gambia, I wasn't thinking of putting that together, but
Right.
I was still doing some writing.
You were still doing some writing. But what was you said you was working over there, but how do you see the level of living amongst the people compared to Sierra Leone at that time?
At that time, first and foremost, every family in the Gambia, whether poor or this or whatever, they at least had 3 meals per day. And they had the communal eating. In the morning, you would drink some porridge or whatever, maize, millet or whatever they were making porridge. Daytime, they will cook some benachin or whatever. You will sit, everybody. If you're there, you eat. If you're not there, you don't get anything. And then in the evening also you eat. So that was the first thing I noticed. That, here, at least people can have food 3 times a day, regardless of how poor they were. It's like a tradition with them. They
Right.
did that, yeah. Whilst back home, the only time we had food to eat was after all the day's work.
Mm-hmm.
Now in the evening, you come, cook for the family, and everybody gets what they have to get. For the whole day, you'll be hungry. If you did not eat cornmeal or bulg or whatever, because those days they used to serve meals in school.
Yes.
So when you go to school, you try to eat that. Otherwise, if not, you stay hungry for the entire day.
If you don't have lunch,
evening,
yeah.
And sometimes if nothing is there, your mom or your dad, they tell you, we don't have money today for cooking. And that's it.
Yeah.
You have to find other ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's why we had catapults and other things to shoot at birds, all these little animals, squirrels and other things. So you get it and you eat it.
Have your meal.
Yeah.
So when did this idea of writing started?
Well, when I was in Greece, I was also writing, but I was like
writing this book. I mean,
no,
specifically.
I'm coming. I was also writing, but I was like writing with my hand because there was no computers then. Okay, so when I came here now and I went to Lewisham College again, before again I went to university in Greenwich University, where I did creative writing and English. So as soon as whilst doing my course, I was now writing this book. The thought came to me to write the book when I was doing creative writing and English. I decided to write the book. Yeah.
Did the title came first, or was just putting things together, the idea of how it all started for you?
I think the title came midway. No, did it actually? No, the title never actually came midway. Yes, I had this friend called Timmy. He's also very interested in literature. So one day, I used to let him go through my manuscript. So one day he told me, he said, man, this book you are writing here, I say, all I can see here, most of it is about growing up, living your entire family, trying to become a man by yourself, and trying to beat the poverty you have been exposed for. He said, so whatever happens, if you want to give a title to this book, said the word poverty must be in it. So then I looked at it and looked at those days when I was teaching, trying to get out of the poverty. I couldn't because I wasn't paid. Anyway, I went. I met some obstacle. I couldn't get it. So then I decided, you know what? I'm going to call this book Dead End Poverty. And the moment I thought of it that way, I kept it in my mind and then started again reading the book from scrap to where I've stopped and made a few changes so that it can go with the title.
You started your chapter because I noticed you don't really give no chapter subtitle. No, you just go straight on it.
Yeah.
And there is no title as well to chapters. So
I didn't put titles, no subtitles.
was this something that you want to...
Yeah, it was deliberate. I was the continuity of the story to go on, not actually spelling out to the person what was going to happen in this particular chapter.
Right.
So I wanted the person to read and conjecture for themselves
Right.
what is happening in that chapter. And then they try to allude it to any part of their own life or any part of their own environment or associations. Yeah, that's what I did.
And you started your first paragraph. I woke up with a jolt, terrified as a frightening buffalo, believing I was still in a grip of the face like cloud.
Yes, the face like cloud. Yeah.
I was ready to resist anything it threw at me. I was not prepared to die. Although I was rattled, a little groggy, and a bit disorientated, I recognized my father's voice, and I realized then that I had been having a nightmare.
Yes. So the book started with a dream. And it's always worthwhile to dream. And as a young man, you dreamt of everything. Becoming this, being that, and all that sort of thing. That's why the book started with a dream. And since it was about two young men who were trying, I knew that what they were trying to do to leave the poverty or hard work behind them and all of this to go. That's why the book started with a dream. To show that, yes, whatever happens, we have something that is in our mind that we can do. And dreaming, most of the times when you dream, you want to dream good. You don't want to dream bad. But in this particular case, it became like a fearful object. The fear was there. A face like cloud appeared to me when I was sleeping. Let's assume it's me. And then it was like fighting with me or whatever. But then my father interrupted the dream. So these boys, Yandy and Mila, who are the main characters in the book, had a dream. As you can see when you continue to read the book.
So in this book, what, because it appears like they were really struggling to kind of understand what was happening to them.
Yes.
And at the same time where they were, and trying to figure it all out.
Yes. Think about it this way. In their community, as I set it out to be, or as it is in most communities, especially where we grew up from, all you ever did was to go farming or to go hunting or to go this if you are not going to school, especially if you lived in the village. And you have to follow in your father's footsteps. He's going to the farm, you go with him. He's coming from the farm, you come with him, and all this sort of stuff. That was what was happening. But then they look at it and saw that it's not life, because they have never seen even their fathers or their forefathers being rich people. They have never seen their fathers or their fathers going to even big towns. You know, they are only confined in that little space of theirs where they felt happy, they felt contented, they felt everything. But these boys now born never wanted to be like that, because people were now coming from some of these big towns bringing stories of what happens there. And these stories actually captivated them, their young minds. and they wanted to go to these places so that at least they can become like these people who are coming to their village.
You know, when I was in Connaught,
Yeah.
it's like the desire to be like what was missing back then. So I saw a lot of friends that I grew up with in say Kabbalah, going to school, primary at that time. They were so wanting to come to Freetown.
Yeah.
You know, they are so eager to come to Freetown. They think when they come to Freetown, their life is going to change.
How did they know about Freetown?
Exactly. So is this dream, right? We go there, at least we wear a little better clothes, and we wear a little better shoes, and we keep our feet always in slippers or shoes, and maybe eat as regularly, like you say, in the 3 meal.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is the life we want to live. At that time, I feel a bit envious a little bit, because I'm thinking this place is beautiful. You know, it's quiet, it's peaceful, it's green, you can breathe. You know, Freetown is so congested, nobody cares. Everybody's trying to get what you have, right? So in my head, I'm thinking, am I dreaming? Because where I am is what I like to be. But where they are, where at the time,
I don't want to be,
yeah. So
it's like what you have you don't like, and what you like you don't have. So it's a very simple equation. These boys see you come from Freetown and all the rest of it, like you said, you have all these fancy things around you. And probably they are in some ragged, short trouser, barefooted.
Not ragged, but you know, they wear the trousers for days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it.
That's
but
what they have.
Those trousers are even torn.
Yeah.
I wore torn trousers.
Yeah, yeah.
You see? There was a time I was selling bananas in Kenema, and my trouser was so torn on my bottom that a Lebanese man actually called me and cut out 1 or 2 yards of khaki and gave it to me. I said, go and give your mom so that they can make trouser for you. Mm-hmm. It actually happened to me.
Right.
You see? So
right.
These things, boy, it may not have happened to everyone, but majority of the people, it did happen to them. Because Sierra Leone was not and still cannot employ majority of its people. People have to fend for themselves one way or the other. You have to make some innovations to make sure you get money to feed your family. It's not coming from the government. It's not coming from anyone else. And there's no social help to say, okay, dad is not working, therefore every month they will give 10 euros to daddy. No. If you're not working, you're not working. If you don't have, you don't have. If you have, you have. That's the way it was. Extremes. It's either you have here or you don't have nothing at all. In the middle, we are very few people. And that's the sort of life that we were living those days. We can allude to the 80s or the 70s. Oh, it was nice time, it was sweet. Yes. Because there was Congolese music. There was dancing in the, we make all these palm leaves or whatever, demarcate some areas, the music coming, you go and dance there. And even then, you'll be dancing barefooted sometimes. Mm-hmm. You don't even have the proper things to wear. So all those things were like enjoyment for us. Okay. They had not killed all the bushmeats by then. In Sierra Leone, people will go and hunt. They bring meat, you cook it, make pepper soup, and eat it. Or in the evenings, you go to neighbors' places, probably steal their fowls or their goats or whatever, and then chop it out. That's the sort of enjoyment people will say they were enjoying. But enjoyment by quality, like actually being there, satisfied with your entire life. Your parents can provide, or your uncles can provide, and all this can happen. It was very rare. And even where your uncles or other people can provide, you are always like more or less like on the bottom of the pile. It trickles down to you instead of actually receiving it at first go. You understand what I mean?
I do.
Yeah. If they cook, they kill a chicken and they cook, and you are just a small boy, it's either you get the legs or the head. All the best part is going to go to the to the elders, and you are going to suffice with that. If even you had a room, when strangers came, the first person that going to take off was you from your room, so that the stranger can have it.
Well, how do you see it that at that time? I mean, was it something that
We just saw it as the norm. You know, at that time we respected our elders. We just saw it as the norm. If your dad says, "Okay, your uncle is here. Can you please leave the room so your uncle will sleep?" Who are you to say no? You will just leave.
I don't
mean,
think
it's
that's
just normal.
actually changed. It
Well,
depends
I don't
on
know. I mean,
it depends on where you are, because
these days people have become a little bit selfish. Children or boys are leaving home quite very young. They go and rent their own places and they are there. So I don't see it quite feasible for you to just come and ask a boy and say, "Can you leave your room so that your uncle will sleep there?" I mean, he will just look like you at you funnily. With all these sort of exposures now that we have on the internet and other places, I mean, it has really, improved and contaminated our society as well.
do you also, I mean, because in the book it focuses a lot more around, farming,
Oh, yes.
and so because I remember when I was in Kabbalah doing, going to the farm,
Yeah.
they used to treat me like a foreigner, even though I wanted to be, like holding the cutlasses and cutting it. And they admire me doing that. And I'm like, what is going on here?
You come from Freetown.
Yes. So
Just a minute. You come from Freetown. Your situation and theirs is not seen the same. It's just like when white people used to go back to Africa. They see them, you say,
So sometimes when the lack of understanding of what you have and don't know exactly what you have, can that affect you?
Oh, yes, it does. Greatly. And if you're not careful, it affects your whole life forever and ever.
Is it a result for these two gentlemen in the book?
Yes.
Because they are coming from an environment that is rich
Yes.
and filled with a lot,
Yes.
but maybe the way it was managed,
Yes.
they sort of looked down upon that environment
Exactly.
as no good.
Exactly.
And wanting to go to an environment that they look at artificially from that
The
person.
grass is always greener outside.
Right.
That's what they were thinking.
Right. Is it a sort of paramount thinking for a lot of, Sierra Leonean at that time within
Oh, yes. And
your
even
time
now,
growing
even
up?
now it has become rampant than ever.
It's where they don't see the countryside as some value anymore.
I tell you, brother, you go to Freetown now or Sierra Leone as a whole, and you have a whole boat, and you say, "Who wants to leave this place and come with me to England or to America?" The boat will be so overfull that you will wonder what's making these people want to leave, because the spectacle of things being out here are all rosy, great. It's like everywhere is gold. You get everything. That is what has been spread around there, and we don't have to blame them. We blame ourselves who go out as JCs. We have this little money that we have. We are going to spend 2 weeks, and we'll spend it like crazy as if we are the richest people in the world. And these guys admire. Oh, I want to go over there too, so that when I come, I'll have enough money to play around with. But it's actually not like that. Some people actually go to the bank and loan, then go to Sierra Leone for 4 or 5 weeks and enjoy the 5,000 or 6,000 they have loaned, not doing anything substantial with it.
I mean, it's okay for us around here, but in Sierra Leone, where we're looking at people who are running away from an environment that is so rich in culture, in agriculture, and all of these, space that create an environment that people can actually live and be sustainable.
Which is actually very great. But what is all that if you cannot afford something to eat?
Right. So the idea of, because a lot of us here, we're now beginning to grow a little tomato or something if we have a garden, a pepper or something, that we can say, okay, it feels good. It just feels good to grow what you eat. Now we're really, so I'm thinking it's like the lack of the understanding of what you have and don't know exactly what it means to you.
Yeah.
That can lead to poverty, isn't it?
Well, yes, definitely. That can also, because if you are so wanting to leave the environment you are in to go outside when you've actually not exploited everything in it, then you might make the wrong choice. Probably it would have been better for you to stay where you are than going out to where you think the grass is greener. Some of us are here now. Okay, we are a bit convenient and all the rest of things. But let me make myself an example. I became engulfed in politics quite at a very early age. I used to even be polling agent and all this and whatever. I'm just imagining myself. If I were in Sierra Leone all this time, two things might have happened to me by now. Probably I will have been dead now, by now, either killed or just died through the war, or I will be one of the richest people in Sierra Leone by exploiting our national wealth. Not by helping my people, becoming a politician and stealing from them as much as I can.
What is that the norm?
That's the norm.
So basically, again, this book that focuses on economical, maybe the lack of understanding of your environment, that sort of poverty, wanting to break free from that. But each time you knock the door, it shuts on your face.
Yeah.
So we can understand now the title Dead End Poverty. But there are levels to poverty.
Well, yeah, there's several levels. And
because for me, what I saw as well is that even though, yes, these friends at that time in Kabalako, in Adugu district, in the northern part of Sierra Leone,
yeah,
they wanted to come to Freetown.
yes.
And what I saw is that many that came when they were 15, 13 to Freetown,
yeah,
they lost their native tongue.
yes,
I noticed that.
yes.
Because Freetown, nobody cares. You want to speak Creole and, to
They
get
love
on.
that one, their tradition.
Right.
Their
And I
culture.
see that. Yeah, exactly. And so this was one thing I thought that this is poverty, because you've lost something that, you
Absolutely, I agree with you.
right. And some of them, they make a lot of money, but they know nothing about where they came from.
Of course, I agree with you. And that's why I agree with you when you say poverty comes in different forms. It's not all about money or all about achievement or all about building mansions that makes poverty go away from you. Poverty comes even in your mind. When you refuse to think out of the box, you are impoverished. It's not like you don't have talent. You have talent, but you're not using that talent in your brain to think out of the box. Okay, what am I supposed to do now that things have gone this way and this way and this way? If I don't have the means to move, to leave my village to go to Freetown, what can I do in this village that will actually make me be earning some good money? And once you think extensively and come up with something, then things are going to change a little for you. That's how things work. You have to think out of the box. For example, like I'm asking that question, I'm in a village where nothing goes, but people eat every day in that village. People get sick. People want to move from one place to another and all the rest of things. If you don't have the means to do that even, but you think you can connect with someone who has the means to do that, through which you can earn something and also become a little bit richer, then you go through that process and try to manage it, get through to that route, and if you're going to have even something that will help you, or to open a little small shop that you sell cola nuts or whatever, you'll be starting to do that. But we don't. For example, now, my brother, people are leaving the villages to go and buy pepper from the big towns.
Why is that?
Because they are no longer planting things. A lot of the people, we have lost not a whole even, 2 or 3 generations we have lost in Sierra Leone.
Are you saying that the people hope for the people expectation is way beyond what
what is available or what is given to them?
Yeah, they can do for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, the whole expectation of the people is that they wanted it yesterday, not today or tomorrow. So that's why it's going. You try it. You stay here. You are trying to put some project up in Sierra Leone. You trust some people and you expend your money down there. If you're not careful, you get nothing out of it. That's because we are inherently dishonest.
That is a very good point. I mean, looking at this dead-end poverty, we can look at it in so many different ways. And this book has 60 chapters.
Yeah.
60.
60, yeah.
Which chapter you will say is your favorite? Can you remember?
For me, every chapter really is my favorite because all those things I put in that book. Look, I have explored every avenue when it comes to poverty and living and culture and religion and trust and betrayals and all that sort of thing. I've discussed everything in those books. Even bribery and corruption, I've discussed it in there. Like when Yandy and Mila were on their way to Kono, when they make the checkpoint, the driver had to ask them for money so that they will be able to pass. They give it that. That's some gesture I made about bribery and corruption, which was rampant at that time and which is even rampant now more than ever.
Well, I mean, you see, everything is how it developed.
Yeah.
And this book probably speaks quite a volume of the displacement of ideas or the displacement of ambition, and also the lack of one's ability or recognize. I think,
and don't forget hope.
Yes, and you made mention of something earlier on, like has a ripple effect in what we're seeing today, which is like how teachers were behaving at that time due to the lack of salary being paid to them for months. And as a result, you know, they were using those children to do their own work as a form of payment.
Let me correct this a little. Even when salaries were being paid then,
it continues.
Whilst we were going to school, we actually used to go and work for our teachers.
Right. So all of these things, for example, it's like these children, they're not really given like the stars, the A stars to say, well done, you're doing well, you're going to be such and such, because you're working for the teacher directly. So how can they applaud you of what you're doing apart from you're a good boy? So if you look at, say, these children at maybe 7 years old, 8 years old, doing those work and not being really saying, well done, you're going to be a very good student, you're going to do such and such for your country. Yeah. And they're growing up wanting to do the same to other children, wanting to do the same to other people, right?
Before we get to that,
yes,
like you are saying, they are not being applauded. They are always applauded. Because
for the work they're doing, but not for their educational.
Even for the work and the education.
Otherwise, it would have tell a story of where we are today.
That is why we have a report card. And on those report cards, you are the teacher. The only difference here is the teacher, that one single teacher that made all the decisions. So there was no way that single teacher cannot be biased.
Right.
Okay.
You're saying I mean, there's no other supervisors that looked at it.
Well, I mean, the headmaster, all those, if you have 500 students or whatever, the school goes to them and says, just going to sign and pass it in. That's what is going to happen.
Is it because they know that they have not been paid and they know the headmasters I'm talking about?
When teachers were being paid.
I know that these teachers are doing what they're doing.
When we were going to school, teachers were paid.
Right. On time?
Of course, on time, in time, and everything. Because it was the British, was it the British? The early government that was there, there was this infrastructure in place. So people were paid. It was only after Shaka Stevens came into power.
Right.
And not just the first few years, probably after he had imposed the one-party state and all these sort of things in the 70s, that things started going hard. After the OAU, when he decided to hold the OAU, it impoverished Sierra a lot.
So if we're looking at a country that's supposed to help each other grow, and, you know, because then we need to focus on the children, innit? A country
I get your point.
with you know, a country with ambition that looks at the future of where they want to be is the children they're focusing on, isn't it?
Well, yes, definitely. But
so, yeah.
Let me say this. Part of our culture, when we were growing up, and in Sierra Leone and in most African countries, children actually don't count much in it, or don't even have a say. Neither women. It's just changing now these days. But let's fast forward it. As I was saying before, we have lost 3 good generations of children. And this has nothing to do with me whilst I was teaching before. It had to do, one, with the war that covered the entirety of Sierra Leone. It had to do with Ebola. It had to do with COVID. And above all, bad governance from our political parties.
Yeah. But this has to do with, I mean, these are all ripple effect. I mean, the war is a ripple effect of the bad system that was set up and the lack of developing the citizens of that country.
That's why I said above all bad governance.
Right. So from then on,
everything ripple to,
is about everybody for themselves.
Yeah. And even when Ernest Bai Kromah was in power, he did all he can, which is good, and we actually commend him for all the good things he did. Now we have Julius Maada Bio. He's doing his own good things, but it's still not enough for the people. We don't even have proper clean drinking water. We don't have constant electricity. We don't have so many other stuff in the place. How are these children going to actually learn? And then you see children in university, they tell you, I'm at IPAM or whatever, I'm in Frobe College. And yet when they write their English, even on Facebook or other places, you'll be wondering whether this person is in college or not at all. Even my 16-year-old little girl can write better English than them. So where are we getting to? It came to a time in that country with the educational system change. They were virtually like handing out question papers and answers to students. And they came out blunt with nothing because they have just been given the answers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the 80s, for me, I experienced that.
In the 80s,
so
it was not rampant.
This was not after the war. This was before the war.
Yeah, but it wasn't as rampant as it is now.
No. What I'm saying is, it's not rampant. That behavior shaped.
Yeah.
It shaped the way we need to go forward. That's what I was.
It did.
Even at that time, I was looking at this. I thought, because this is definitely a behavior that is shaping the way we move forward.
But look at the education system here as well.
And because who are these teachers? These teachers now, they were teachers who didn't really gain a lot more credibility or credential back then as students.
No.
So these are the teachers now.
Well, yes,
so,
definitely.
Yeah, you can't,
You said,
nothing is in isolation, isn't it?
Yeah, but even here, when you are having your GCSE or your A-levels or this, that, or whatever, you are going to go through all question papers and all this sort of stuff. You are going to go through to the internet and all this sort of stuff. All these things are spelled out there. It's left with you for you to go to make your research, and then you get it. But us in Sierra Leone, like you said, the ripple effect has caught us with. In the 80s, it was happening, but it was like on very little small scales.
Yeah, but I don't think, people saw how this is going to affect, say 30 years on.
That's because we were short-sighted.
Well,
our ministers who were in charge of education and other places, they took their eyes off the ball. We were short-sighted. If you are going to engage into some bad practices, you should know that there's going to be some repercussions at the end of it. And you may not be alive when that happens. Or you may not even be a teacher when that happens. But even these teachers now that we have who are not well trained as teachers or whatever, the little they know that they are imparting to these kids, if the kids actually try to learn that honestly and get it, fair enough, then they will excel. A lot of children are also excelling in Sierra Leone as I speak, because now they have the internet to help them. They have they have other avenues that can help them learn what they have not learned before. It's not like us, we have to do it from books or we had it from the teacher. Before, it was only content matter that was really the thing that mattered to any teacher or lecturer everywhere in the world. If you are doing Shakespeare or you are doing you are doing some other books, they will ask you, what does this particular sentence that Macbeth did, what does it mean, in what context, and you have to give them that content matter in it. Whilst these days, teaching is all about thinking, stimulating the child to think outside the box, to bring their own ideas to the table, to think about what, for example, if I ask my child, so okay, if I read a rhyme to you like this, and I say, okay, let dogs delight to bark and bite, for God have made them so. Let bears and lions growl and fight, for that's their nature too. But children, you must never let angry passion rise. Your little hands were never made to tear each other's eyes. And then you tell a little girl, say, can you analyze that poem for me? You tell another boy, can you analyze that for me? This for me. It might be similar, but it's all going to come out differently because they are using the acumen, thinking out of the box to explain what those sort of things mean. This one alludes to this alludes to this. For the fact that I say your little hands were never meant to tear each other's eyes, that's one alludes that you must not hate each other. You must not fight each other. Or this tells you that instead of fighting each other, you must share things. So all these things put together there, as long as you defend it properly, this is the sort of education we have now. As long as you defend your answer properly, and it can allude to whoever is marking your papers, you go through, you pass. You are never wrong. And that is what is all about creativity. Creativity is all about thinking out of the box. You sit over there now like you're sitting, you're having the radio. Then I say, oh, I'm on Feferity Radio. And I actually think that Feferity Radio is a very great radio station. Why? Because it tells great stories, it plays great music, and of course the proprietor is always a friendly person. Now I'm going to tell you a story about the proprietor himself. He's a very handsome man, and just by looking at him, you can see he's honest, he's okay, and he loves people. And I'm sure that is the same way he relates into his household and to friends. If he goes outside, he socializes and all the rest of the... I don't know you personally, but a lot of what I've just said can be true. Another person will see you and then say, oh, that guy, he's a monster. I don't even like his radio station. But that's the way he perceives you. It's all about perception.
That's right. So, well, here we are actually looking at your book as a writer. That's Roland Charley, my special guest for today here on Feferity Radio. His book, Dead End Poverty. The title came to him when he was writing it because a friend that he gave the script to look at says, at least whatever title you give, poverty must be in it. And then he went and threw back his experience in Sierra Leone when he was trying to get on with life, trying to become more ambitious, but then, it never seems to be an answer for him. So he felt like that was a dead end. So there is, you got the book, Dead End Poverty. I think it's a very interesting book for one to read. Interesting in so many ways because he has no chapter. So then you just need to get into it and then follow up the story. Story of two boys, particularly featured around in Sierra Leone, the story. So here with me is Roland Charley. So Charlie, although this book is focusing on, say, specifically, Africa, Sierra Leone, beautiful pictures, the front, looking at all these different sites, the mine, all of these minerals and stuff like that, people working, probably without no right equipment, as it were at that time, and because people just want to survive and find something that it could, that could sustain their life, But if we're looking at you moving around now, you in the UK, and for some for us in the diaspora, that was thinking that, well, my auntie used to go holiday, my friend used to go holiday, they look nice, they got a good body now, they change and all of this. I mean, if I come to these places, I might be this and be that. Now, how do you look at poverty in England? Because here, it's not like you're starved. There's no light. Everything is there if you want it. But how do you look at poverty here for us, Sierra Leonean? Or in general? In general,
poverty here, we have poverty here anyway. It's not like we don't have it. We do have it here. Because as I speak to you, there are several families. They don't starve. They go to food banks, which have been created, where they can collect some food to go and make their family eat. We have families here. If I'm speaking on this radio, some people may not believe it. We have families here who cannot even afford blazers for their kids to go to school. Mm-hmm. We have to give back all blazers to the school so that they can give these kids whose parents cannot afford blazers or uniforms for them or shoes. So there is that type of poverty around here. Regardless that we have social structure that actually does help in the form of child benefit, in the form of housing benefit, and so many other benefit, disabled, this, that. Still, there is a great form of poverty. We don't see it because a lot of Britain up to now have not really been very, very much integrated. But when you get to the north, then you actually start seeing things. And you see the vast difference between the north in Manchester and in London, in Leicester and in London, in Coventry and in London, in other places and in London. You find out that poverty exists in this country, but it's not on the scale that it exists in Sierra Leone because they have something in place to help. And besides, they have organized their community in such a way, this community is so organized in such a way that you get everything more or less as long as you have the money. And you can feed on even £2. You can go and buy chicken and chips. If it's not for you alone, you survive for the day. But as I speak right now, there will be people in Sierra Leone, since this morning, they have not been able to put a seed of gari in their mouth. There are families in Sierra Leone, they have not been able to put pot on fire to cook anything to eat. Let's just forget about Freetown alone. But even in Freetown, think about the whole country. Things are not.
So what about us here? Because living Sierra Leone, like I said, is with a picture.
Yeah.
Everybody has an ambition. So then, even though you know, maybe one never have an ambition in Sierra Leone or the means to propel their ambition, and we will look and we will think that if I'm here, if I come to the West, then I will make it. Has it been the case? Because then there is so much. Even like I said, when you leave your countryside, I have seen it, how we impoverish the people that were born, you know, in a country with the different nationalities, how they've lost their language, they've lost their tradition, their customs, you know, because there used to be customary practices. You know, when I was in Kabbalah, in Connaught, there used to be customary practices that they do, you know, whether it be the boys dancing around fire, just displaying their cultural artistry.
Yes.
Now, they lost those dates that they used to do it, living in Freetown.
Yeah.
So how much more will that affect us coming over here, trying to come here to make it in life? How has that affected us?
My brother, it has affected us a lot. We are here. We can get light, we can get electricity, we can get welfare, we can get nice places to sleep, we can get good health facilities and all. But do you know what we miss most? We miss the human factor, the people who are always around you in your village, who are always around you in Freetown, the people you meet, the plane drafts, plane tops and all this sort of stuff, going from Palm One and all this, all in a communal manner. We don't get that one here. That's first and foremost. And the first and foremost poverty that hits you in this country when you arrive, or in any European country when you arrive, unless you came in legally, it will be you being an illegal person, no papers. And once you have no papers, you are doing things on the ground. And once you are doing things on the ground, there are always the big wolves out there who wants to chop you. They will give you their papers to go and work with. They'll give you their bank account. You will work on the ground. They are paying you this money. Those days, it goes to their bank account. And when it's that much, they just take it all and you have nowhere to go. So you become disillusioned. Why did I come here? I would have better stayed over there. But some of us manage by all possible means to try and get into the system and stay within the system. That doesn't mean that we are rich. We are only able to go work like we would have done if we did the same thing in Sierra Leone, to get some money to pay for our rent, to pay for our transportation, to pay our children's school fees and keep the roof over their head. It's the same thing, brother. It's only the value of the currency of the country that we are staying in is a little bit different. And as I said, they are organized. They fix things. They make good hospitals. They make good roads. They make sure that there's electricity. In our country, we don't make sure that all these things are available. What we make sure is available is corruption. If I'm giving money to build a hospital, I'm not building it. Or if I build it, it's going to be a substandard one. If I'm giving money, how can it be possible for a mile of road that is built in Sierra Leone to be more expensive than a mile of road that can be built in Britain, where laborers are paid or workmen are paid even higher. And there you are.
So what causes, I mean, in your view, because here the kind of poverty is not really about corruption. I mean, for us that come from, say, different African countries or Sierra Leone, it's not really about being corrupt system, but our level of poverty is a lack of our cultural, awareness, our cultural belief system. That sometimes ended because, like you said, if you come here, you don't have, the right status. It's going to take you years and years and years. And all you're focusing on is about getting that right. Most things is like, you're not being able to engage in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that can disadvantage you.
A lot.
Can impoverish you, because to get a place for yourself, a home for yourself is very difficult.
You see,
and that also cannot raise your self-esteem. But in Sierra Leone, what causes poverty?
dependency culture is one. We have a great deal of dependency culture in that country. Even when we were living there, when growing up, if your father was there working and having money, all the people in their village or the friends or what will want to bring their children so that they can live with your father, so that you can put them to school, so that you can do this. Whilst you are living here, every single day your phone will ring for somebody asking you for something. And even when you try to help and say, okay, let me take this substantial money and give to this person so that they can do something with it, so that they stop disturbing me, they utilize everything and then wait for more to come in. We are very, 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 very dependent. That's one. Two, please forgive me, my Sierra Leonean brothers, but we are also very lazy.
Right.
We are lazy in the sense that we have a mind that we must have to go to school by all means, which is true. We go to school by all means, but do we all have to be bankers? Do we all have to be business administrators? Do we all have to do all these posh jobs? No.
Maybe you're right. I mean, let's touch on that.
Yeah.
People don't have to be bankers or lawyers, but what people have grown up seeing in Sierra Leone is that when you become a banker, then when you're rich, you get a lot of money. If you're a lawyer, you get a lot of money. And to become a teacher is like, it's not inspiring, isn't it? Because when people think about how their educational time in school, maybe they don't want to give back. So you're going to have a new form of foundation to build credible, inspired new teachers who are there to, bring out the best, within their pupils, to be able to create that environment. But the old environment, like you're saying, are very dependent. Yeah. And as a result of that, become very lazy to do for oneself.
When we were growing up, nurses, teachers, policemen, when you came from training school, straight away, if you passed everything, you become a policeman. When you came from nursing school, state registered nursing school, you became a nurse. When you came from a teacher's college or university and you've done education, you become a teacher. There was nothing like pin. You have to have a pin, or this has to happen. With your certificate that you've got, that was all you needed, and you become a teacher.
Time of change.
Yeah. Now, they have put in this pin issue. I have seen people in Sierra Leone, they said they have done some sort of nursing, and they have been working for the past 7-8 years, and still they don't have a pin. Why don't they have a pin? Because they don't have money to spend to those people who should be giving them the pin. You have to bribe for the pin. And if you bribe for the pin, you come in, what are you going to do? The next person you are going to exploit is going to be the poor patient who comes to you for treatment.
But I mean, what you're saying here is like a cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a cycle. And the only way
to break that... with education, isn't it?
Yeah. The only way to break that cycle is by education. And when I say education, we don't mean formal education. It's not like sitting in the classroom or doing all this. The government has got to get off their asses and work. We have to break this through radio. We have to break this through social media. We have to break this through bringing back civics in school and teaching the goods and bads, the pros and cons of corruption.
I think that is happening.
Well, maybe it's happening, but I mean, how big is it happening?
Well, you're looking at, I mean, for me, what I'm looking at here, or the question I want to ask, you said how big.
Yeah.
I want to look at the percentages of people who are integral.
Yeah.
Compared to those who lack integrity. And maybe what according to what we've been discussing, or the insight you've been, throw here, is that the majority of people are lack integrity. So,
Yeah.
as a nation like that, if the small percentage of people are integral and trying to make a headway, then you're gonna find a dead end.
Of course, because people are going to stop you in your track.
Right.
Those people who don't want to change.
Right.
As we can say, no camp well here. That's first they will tell you. But then, why do we have a government? Why do we have an enforcing body? Why do we have the courts? And if these courts are all corrupt, then where do you expect us to go?
No, but what I'm saying is like one has to realize,
Yeah.
one has to realize what they have. And I think maybe Sierra Leone, looking at from the book Dead End and what these two young men have experienced in their life, which of course is one that the majority of Sierra Leonean have experienced, where it comes to bribery, the police.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to do my passport some years ago, and I went there and I'm looking to get a form so I can fill it, but it wasn't the case.
No.
There are several police
You have
who
cops.
were not even assigned there,
Yeah.
but I think they were just there, and then they will sort of stop
for
you
their
and
daily
say, what
fee.
you want to do, I can help you, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I thought it was a genuine help. Not until when I went up there and I saw, to get a form, you have to pay money,
Yeah.
right? It's boldly written there, right? And then it's like, you don't have to do it for yourself, because somebody have to do it for you,
do it
because
by
that
you.
person have to make some money.
Exactly.
So even your ability to do something for yourself has been taken away.
Yes, it
And I
is.
experienced that in so many different, companies or whatever I was dealing with at that time. So it seems to me that the educational system that we created, that was created from maybe the 60s, 70s, just kind of ingrained and nurtured into those ideology of those children and those adults who was festering those ideology. I think it's just come together, where now these children who were now being so corrupted and not being approved of their intelligence and giving them some integral, upstanding life, a start in life, they're now taking up the mantle. So I think it's very difficult to be able to kind of abolish it completely, but rather than, giving people some sense of awareness about who they are and what they've not been, or not been able to achieve, but rather than who they are first.
Listen, brother. Corruption all over the world, anywhere in the world, cannot be abolished completely. Even here in Britain, we have corruption. I call it organized and legalized corruption. Over there, it's blatant corruption. The policeman will ask you for money in the street without having any care in the world. You go to the courts, they are not even lawyers. They are just lawyer helpers. They will be out there looking for money, taking it from you to go and satisfy themselves. Anywhere you go around the area, there are people who want to take money from you because
They were not being paid. It's an idea, really, because I think if I've heard this.
So it was not only teachers who were not paid.
Exactly. Because, what you said about teachers, it's important, though, that looking at teachers, because, you're looking at a
One
very...
of the least paid in the community.
Yeah, but also a very important institution
Yeah.
that are responsible for the mind of the citizens.
Yeah, the young minds of the citizens.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we're focusing on it. But it was a general behavior
Thank you.
from the government at that time that shaped, I think, the way that Sierra
You are very right,
Leoneans
sir. You are very right.
should behave going forward in the future.
Brother, bribery and corruption was made a norm. Sheikh Stephen said it boldly on radio and in many other places where he went to speak.
What do you mean?
Who say you tie goat na day you dey eat?
Who said that?
Sheikh Stevens, the leader then.
Well, the president at
The
that time.
president at that time.
Okay, from this, is it late 60s, isn't it?
Well, he came into power in the
68?
around
Yeah.
those times. And then he was there till, I don't know,
85 or 84.
something like that.
So hold on a minute. What did he say? In English?
Where you tie a goat or a cow,
Yeah.
that's where it can feed.
Right.
So you put me in the office, That's where I'm supposed to be feeding, either by hook or crook means. And then he also said,
Did the people took that wrong though? I mean, meaning that
yes,
if I am a
that
builder,
he's giving them license.
if I'm a builder,
yeah, you steal materials.
I'm gonna make my living out of that. So I'm
stealing-
gonna get paid from doing my
That
building
was not
work,
what
right?
he meant.
No?
What he meant was that if you're a builder and they give you materials, and you can steal from those materials and make money from yourself.
Even though you're getting paid or you're not
Even
getting
though
paid
you're
at all.
getting paid.
At that time, were
but
people
some people did not get paid.
were
in
people
time.
getting paid on time?
Yeah, there was so much corruption. And as I speak, even now, my brother, I'm telling you, I'm not going to name names here because I don't want to get myself in trouble. But there were people in an Escroman's government and people even in this government. We've all been here. Now, if you go and see what those people have done within this short period, you'll be asking, where did they get money to do this? And nobody's asking them those
But
questions.
those people we're talking about here,
Yeah.
they are in their 50s.
So,
If we go back, those children,
yeah.
because this is very important. This is very,
That's why I'm
very,
bringing
this
it.
is very important.
Yeah.
They're in their 50s,
Yeah, or even
late
older.
40s.
Yeah.
Right. And these were the children taught how to be corrupt. They were not taught to be responsible for their
But
country.
they have joined politics. They said they want to make change.
Well, if the idea of politics is to make change, then it will have been so visible for everyone to
Well,
see.
what is visible is the same corruption that they acquired that they are actually employing.
This is
up
what I'm
till
saying.
now.
So if 20% of 100 is very integral, got dignity, right? Then it's a challenging situation because we're looking at teachers was not getting paid, and therefore it affects not just teachers but ed teachers. It affect I don't know about the
only
Ministry
people
of
The
Education.
only people who got paid in time and on time were the policemen and the soldiers because they always had to switch in things for them so that they cannot make any coup or do any other sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore, is a system that is built about you got to help yourself wherever you are, and it's not about build the country. It's not about developing the country. It's not about developing your
It
skill.
was not about that at all.
No. So therefore,
Yeah.
if we are now in government and we're in our 50s,
Yeah.
I think we know more of that corruptive nature.
Absolutely.
Because we haven't gone through a process where we recognize that we have to be very integral.
Very, very correct.
So therefore, we have that nature more in us
Correct.
than one that to seek to develop our country.
Very, very, very correct. You've hit the nail on the head, brother. You see,
No blood, though.
the whole thing is, as I see it, when the British man left and we had our independence in 1961, which is a very long time ago, 27th April 1961, every little infrastructure was in place. Everything was in place. The schools were running well, the trains were going well, the buses were going well, everything. The civil service was very respectful. It was headed by Creole people and all these sort of things. A lot of them were headed by them. Everything was like clockwork, just working. And then when Albert Magai took over from Sir Milton Magai, because he didn't have any chance to do anything illegal or being a crook. Albert Magai came, he decided to start putting people around him of the same caliber, the same tribe and all these sort of things. And this didn't go well with the then Sheikh Stephen, who was an SLPP person as well. So they formed those parties. Albert Magai even wanted to make a one-party state.
Yeah, there was a lot of party at that time.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to come to was that this infrastructure thing was there. It was only after these people went out of power, and already it had started depreciating before Albert Magai went out of power, and then the coups came.
Yeah.
When the coups came, the only person who came and proved himself to be somebody of dignity that can straighten Sierra Leone was Jackson Smith. And they didn't let him last there. They got him off.
I mean, you know, we can look into politics, but
So let me just bring this little part. And so from that point onwards, that the infrastructure that was there to make everything work properly fell off. It fell off the rails. People were not doing anything they wanted, even taking the country's money bonically without being afraid. I'm telling you.
So it's a behavior.
It's a behavior. And
Right.
this was imparted in almost every citizen in the country. As I told you, we say Itai goat na day they eat.
Does that make you really angry and
Oh
frustrated?
yes, it does.
Because I can see anytime you talk about it, you know, there's a sense of feeling.
One reason I
really
put
displeasure.
myself forward for politics is because of that. Because I know that one man, you can make a little change, but you can't make that much of a change. And if you have people like-minded to just be there to excel in corruption, then we don't have a future. Our children don't have a future in Sierra Leone. Can't you see why Kush has taken over? The children have
Well,
lost
I
hope.
mean, you know, this thing is really, really bad. But
lost
the
hope.
war against drug is everywhere. It's just that in Sierra Leone, there is so much issues that every negative one becomes the highlight. I think that's what we have to live with in Sierra Leone. But going forward, this book came out in 2013.
Yeah.
How is it doing?
Yeah,
is-
it has been doing well.
Mhm.
Yeah, what I self-published anyway.
Right.
But I recovered whatever I put into it. I made some profit from it. I have 2 or 3 more books finished. I've not just decided to publish them yet. And I had a call from one of these book traditional publishers who are trying to say that, yeah, I should review the book again and see if I can, like you were saying before, if I can put subtitles and the rest of things so people know beforehand what is happening into the book. But, you know, nothing comes from nothing. I have to invest some money into that as well.
So what have you learned? Because this is one of the things, I mean, you've learned about the chapters.
Yeah.
But, you know, writing this book, what have you learned about what you need to do or improved in the next one?
The very first thing I have learned is that I try to put it all in one book. And so I wrote a very long book, which I don't think I will ever do again. If I'm going to write a book or any book I'm writing now, should be just about 150 pages, most.
Right.
Yeah, that's one. And if I'm going to write anything longer than that, then I've got to make sure I put it into compartments.
Right.
Title, subtitles, and even other subtitles under subtitles.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. And I'm never going to publish again with any self-publishing.
This was
companies.
published by Author's House, right?
Yeah, but I self-published it. Self-publishing companies are only there to take the money away from you. They work for their own interest. They don't work for the interest of your book. So if you have to make your book go forward, you have to do
You have to promote it. You have to sell it.
promote it. You have to do all of those. Why traditional publishers, they undertake the whole thing and sometimes even give you some advance for you to write your book.
So where is this available? Dead and Poverty.
It's available on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon, and it's in all formats. Once you can get it to listen to.
Audio.
Yeah, you can order the book. It will come to you, and all this. It's in all formats anyway. It's in paperback and it's also in hardcover.
Right.
Yeah.
And the next, you said you've got 2 lined up that you haven't really.
Yes, I have. I have got so much work on my manuscript, on my whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I've completed a lot. I have files here. I also write poems and short stories as well.
Okay. Have you published those ones?
No, they're just here for the time being.
All right. Okay. I mean, this year has just already started.
Let me
Is this anything you're gonna do this year?
Well, all depends on my finances as well. You see? So I'm going to send a few to the publishers and see if they like it, then they will. Where is this?
Do they have writers' union in Sierra Leone?
They have a writers' union in Sierra Leone.
Are you a member?
Um, I I am a member of the forum, but not the time this guy when Banabon was alive, he was actually trying to make me part of the entire organization.
Right.
And my late brother was also friends to this guy who is the publisher.
Right.
But I have never contacted him personally yet, but I will try to see if I can contact him personally to see if I can do some other certain things with, even if it's not dead end poverty. Some of the, let me look for this.
Have you put this in Dead in Poverty? Have you put it in the group?
Yeah, I put it in some groups.
What is the feedback from?
Well, I mean, the feedback has been good from when it comes from the groups, even. But you see, one thing about us Sierra Leoneans, there are very few people who like to read. They rather be on the political forum and abuse each other than actually take a book.
But generally, it's hard to read now, isn't it?
Well, yes, definitely.
Generally.
But if it's on electronics,
Yeah.
maybe you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mm.
You see, I have these creative files that I made. No, that's not it. Let me see. 1 minute.
So, I mean, are you going to be publishing anything for this year, or you said, I mean, it's based upon your finance? So I was just asking you
Well,
if
for
you're
this
part
year,
of.
I wouldn't say that on air right now. But if I'm going to publish anything, I will let them know. Yeah.
Is it going to be a poetry or?
Yeah, poetry. All this you see here are all poetry.
Right.
Different types of poetry. Even
You want to read one for us?
well, maybe
Pick anyone.
I can read this. It's a okay. Let me see.
Roland is going to read us a poetry. This is exclusive here.
This
on
is
Feferity.
called "That Was You."
Okay.
Waddling in deceit, you came to us, treacherous man. Poor, down, imagine. Yes, you, hollow man, stuffed with phony promises, descended humbly into our midst, pleading to us, endearing us, but not educating us, crying to us, ruling us, and bleeding us. You turn us, win us over, and use us. Your moments of grandeur, a virtual license, plundering the motherland like captured virgin in war. He asked me, did you see him pass? Like I didn't see, like I didn't know him. That was you, I said. Long ago, you passed. Sanctimonious, shrouded, hidden from view, rolling proudly in plush, tinted barrier. Falsely secured, meandering between the mounds and deep craters and stinking rubbish on smelly streets. Hands grubby, nervous, sweaty. Through the window, you squinted, peered, and you saw nothing. Overnight, the black dark in the great black, sun, moon, and stars in protest refused to shine. On the darkness, you willfully harness that plunged us in the darkness that is the status quo. Even now, as I pass in dedicated refusal not to observe against your hardened will, you will see, even as you refuse to see, and see what you had rather not see. You do nothing about the sick, the raped, the amputees, the blind, and your perpetually hungry people. You, liar man, conscience crossed like a boulder unmoved, but still you see. Man killing man, deaths, diseases, orphans. Man no longer man, barely an apparition of past identity and lost fraternity in forfeit of eternity. That one must be a fool, that one by the gutter. Oh yes, the geriatric, the homeless, the hungry, deprived of butter, treacherous man has arrived. Look, a teenager in the street, no longer a teenager. Was once, now a man without shoes, without hope. He's been there, a stick man ravaged. He knows it all, seen it all, and suffered it all, conned by your character in the shiny tinted barrier. Then you say he's only a desiccated man. Driver, give him money to get a little honey. And I say, wrong. He's a sick man waiting for that hospital, that school, that energy, for that bridge, for that dream promised of what was to happen. Still, he waits, survives, barely on life's basics, towards that designated grand highway, promised, devoid of humps or bends, but now forgotten, like the poor waiting man. Even as you ride in your over-glorified chariot, with every little shift, the smell of leather wafts over a head so daft to celebrate its own futility. Now I ask you, did you see you pass? Yes, I saw me pass, plump and wallowing in other people's sweat and blood, in ignorance and absolute arrogance, selfish and relentless, without shame, in the pursuit of riches and fat teenage asses, vindictive, insatiable bully, pauper of yesterday, the elusive tycoon today, corrupt and corrupting. I puke at me, I spit at me, I damn myself, I damn our lot, sneering me into the plot. Nevertheless, I truly hail this moment as the heavy scales of greed fall off my eyes. It is mine, yours, and our salvation.
That's fantastic. So that's the poem You.
Yeah, that's the poem. That was you.
That was you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I have different ones as well,
That's really fantastic. I mean, we will have you here again, to talk about other things as well.
Okay.
But so people can get your book. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you
Sir
for having
Roland.
me. Yeah.
So
for
the book
having me.
Dead End Poverty, at least now we know what the idea, I mean the title, the idea behind it. So, and it's a really great read. Like you said, you've learned about, because one thing I really struggle sometimes, when you're reading a book,
Yeah.
you want to see the title and
Subtitle.
then subtitle,
Yeah.
especially when you leave it
Well,
for a while.
I told you why I did that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just put them 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Because everything flowed. There's nothing going out of
Yeah.
order from the other.
Yeah. No, that was fine.
See?
But that's one thing I kind of
But
really struggle.
If I had liked, I would have given it subtitle so that I can mix them up, take this story from this story to put it over here, and then later on return to that other story through by giving them the chapters.
That's really good. But I mean, I'm looking forward to the next one where we're gonna have more subtitles
Hopefully.
and edits as well. I'm sure we'll be much more interested to flick through and see the different subtitling and goes, ooh, that's an interesting one. I can't wait to get to that one. So that is really good. But it's a really good book, a very interesting one. I'll
Before I forget, there's also I write stories also and put them on Wattpad. It's another app. I put
Wattpad.
a story there. Yeah, you remember the one I sent you? With
Yeah.
Where I'm wearing the hat. There's one there that I put which says The Skeptic and the Ghost. People
Okay.
can read it for free from over there.
right.
Yeah.
What is it called? The
Skeptic and the Ghost.
no, where can they find it?
Wattpad. WATTPAD.
Wattpad, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that an I don't know about that.
Yeah. wait
I'll look at my Wattpad. Okay, that's great. So they can look at the
yeah, they can
the
look
skeptic and the.
Yeah, that's Wattpad, the one in the
Oh right, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
The Skeptic and the Ghost.
okay.
Yeah. It's
What's
there
that about?
For them free.
That's terrifying, isn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, it's just about a skeptic who does not believe in anything.
You like fictional stories?
Yeah, I do. That's all I write. It's just about somebody who does not believe in ghosts. The traditionally a lot of people believe, but he feels he's good and better or more sensible than everybody else.
So you like them Star Wars
So
movie
he
and all of that
becomes
sort
very
of stuff?
jaunty and he's always putting down people. There's no ghost. Oh, stop this rubbish you are telling me. Well, where do you think ghost is going to come from? So now he always used to spy with this sort of old woman called Mama Nyale. And on the day Mama Nyale died, he does not know that Mama Nyale has died because he was upside on the other side of town.
Right.
And while Mama Nyale was lying on her deathbed, she's there. She appeared to him and came and sat down with him in the veranda as she usually does. And he sold tobacco to Mama Nyale, they spoke and all the rest of things. And while they were speaking and exchanging a lot of things about ghosts, somebody started coming. I mean, they saw someone coming towards their end. And this person was coming to tell them about Mama Nyale's death. So Mama Nyale told the man, just excuse me a while. I'm just going down into the toilet. And then she left and went to the toilet. Then this person came and said, oh, Pascal, we just came to tell you this sad news. Your old friend Mama Nyale died this morning. Everybody is just crying around over there. So I said, let me come out. And so I said, oh, which Mama Nyale are you talking about? I said, the old woman who normally comes here. said, "Oh, come on, my friend, don't tell me that rubbish." Mama Jale was just sitting here. Look at, it's literally the snuff box that Mama Jale had was still there. I said, "Look at the snuff box that she brought here, and I filled it with snuff." So they both ran and went to the backyard to see if Mama Jale was there. And there was no Mama Jale.
Are you? This is a fantastic one. I mean, I'm just looking at like a little animation story.
Well, yeah.
Have you thought of
Animating things?
Yes.
Not really.
Well, maybe something to look at because the way you're telling this story, it looks more
I
animated.
just got it short, you know.
I know, but I mean,
There
I'm
are
looking at
9
it because
parts
there's
to
a lot of
Yeah.
you know, African stories, especially the Nigerians, the Kenyans, and Ugandans are doing it very well. You know, animation and to tell the African stories, you know, animatedly, really, really, really beautiful. So, like the way you're telling it now, I just visualize it as an animated story. That would be
it could
fantastic. Maybe something that you need to look at. I mean, into.
I will try, brother.
Yes. Well, I mean, Sir Roland, thank you very much for being here and today talking about your book, Dead in Poverty, and how it all came about and your view about poverty, even though poverty is not going to end anywhere in the world. But what is your message that you want to sort of leave to your fellow Sierra Leoneans and people that are listening?
The message I want to impart to Sierra Leoneans and everybody around the world is that when you want to do anything in this world, you can do it. Sometimes you just don't do it for money. Sometimes you do it because of the passion you have. And nothing can ever stop you. Everybody is a writer, one way or the other. Everybody has a story to tell. It's only when you're ready to tell it and how you want to tell the story. So if you have anything you want to talk about, don't be afraid to sit down on your computer or take your pen and write them down. You'll be surprised what you come up with. And even if nobody reads it, you will enjoy it yourself. So I'm just trying to say that within everybody, there is that room for progress. And if you explore it, then it will be of great help to you. It might even make you rich if you're happy. If you're lucky. So please, whatever you are able to do, we are all talented in this world. There's no untalented person. Don't ever look at yourself and say you are not talented. You are. There are certain things you do and other people don't do. So use those things you do that other people don't do to better yourself. Thank you so very much for listening. And I'm glad I'm here today on Feferity Radio. And Feferity Radio, thank you again for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. I think that's the best sort of advice one can give, really. And we hope that, people will lean on that and make way. Because sometimes, like you said, it's not about the money. It's about what is your ambition. Yeah. You know, what is your will, what you want to do. And then sometimes by just doing it, it feels absolutely good.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes it might not bring you all the riches. It might not bring you the notification.
Yeah.
But however, you have felt it.
Yeah.
You've achieved it.
Yeah.
And that's the most satisfaction one needs in life.
That's what it does.
And I really thank you very much for being here.
No
and, we'll get you back again here to talk about, Sierra Leone. And maybe we're going to look at, like we say, corruption. Poverty is a friend of capitalism. So, it's not going to go away. But we're gonna look at, how things have changed in your view in Sierra Leone, because it's not the same as you grow up.
No, not at all. There have been developments.
So we're going to look at that the next time we have you here.
No problem. And if you come up with any topic you feel you want me to participate in, just inform me in time.
Well, I'm going to be looking at, I've talked to a lot of fathers about, having fathers conversation. Because, fathers are not talking about, the things that they're going through, emotionally, in relationships and everything like that. We bottle a lot of things in. Yeah. So it's about just having fatherly conversation about, how things feel at home, our children, us being here as well,
yeah.
the sort of difficulty we face, not just telling our people back home when they ask for money, but also we need to tell these stories. Yeah. And experiences so that, they understand that, wow, it's not easy.
Yeah, thank you anyway. Anytime you need me, let me just know in time. I will create the time to be with you.
Yeah. But mostly, it's to continue this. Looking, the next time is to look into what we've just discussed into your book. Poverty in Sierra Leone. We're looking at how things have changed, how that pattern of poverty have changed. and what do you see now as something that was lacking, and let's compare and contrast. I mean, it's not going to be all rosy because we've all identified that, you know, especially when it comes to education, these children that was, you know, misused their mental, their ideas or their brain is misused from young ago. This is the product now we're seeing, but lots of things have changed within those times. So we'll look into that. All right.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
So Roland Charley, author of Dead End Poverty, a man who was born in Bonth at 27. He left the country for the first time. And another interesting story that I remember mostly is about, you know, at age 13, around about there, when you started smoking and you got a beating from your mother. You know, but he always valued drinking than smoking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see one really being posh or one is better than the other, but it seems as if they were more comfortable drinking.
Their orientation towards it when they were first orientated to it. So they saw anybody smoking anything like weed like a very dangerous person.
Mm-hmm.
So you are no good. But they don't mind the drunkard drinking and peeing on himself, passing around and singing. They will be laughing. But if you go and drink and you smoke and your eyes are red, and you even make a knife like this, everybody will run away.
No, but even cigarette, it was something that it was shown in.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, you know, people were smoking tobacco then in the villages.
Well, cigarettes are not good. That's what has given me a problem.
Right.
A day like today, it's giving me all these COPD, breathing problems.
Yeah.
You know, we started smoking very young.
Right.
And when I was living in Greece, I'm not kidding you, more than 40 sticks a day and coffee and all that was just what we were doing.
Right. Because it was lonely. He was away from home for the first time.
Yeah.
And cold.
Well, yeah, not very cold.
Colder than Sierra Leone.
Well, yeah,
I mean, you know, in Sierra Leone probably you don't wear as many clothes as you know, so all of those things, especially the loneliness as well, will make one consume a lot of these vices. So, but anyway, it's a pleasure having you, sir. Thank you very much.
Problem.
Roland Charley, author of Dead End Poverty, his book. Make sure, please, you look at it. At least go and find it. And What's part as well?
The first 75 pages.
The first 75 pages, so you can read. I mean, it's got loads of pages. I said it's about 60 chapters in this book. So it's about 346 pages.
Yeah.
So, but the first 70 is very enlightening. So thank you very much.
No problem.
And we'll leave you with
you
Your Love featuring Jennifer Barrett.
Okay.
You said you love reggae, right?
Yeah, why not, man?
So anytime, please, you watch this again on Feferity Radio, we encourage you to share it. And we've got plenty as well for you to entertain yourself. Well, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, all of you. And I really appreciate. Tomorrow is Saturday. It's Vinyl Saturday here with me, Freestyle 6 to 9.
makes me feel warm inside. Sweet love, your kisses and your burning eyes, your love, I will never deny. True love, I cherish it, it will never die. I'll never love no one the way I love you. You turn my gray skies into blue. Your love makes me feel warm inside. Sweet love, your kisses and your burning desires. Your love, I will never deny. True love, I'll cherish it.